Nothing about doubleheaders for the Guardians has been easy since last season. Oh, it ain't doubleheaders a year ago. They split with the Nationals, and it took some slumping players to bust out to do it, and they finally had a game they didn't have to win by 1 or 2 runs.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into a victory. Well, what kind of is a victory Wednesday for the Cleveland Guardians here on Locked On Guardians. They won the nightcap with a doubleheader. That's the last game in our minds. And the other Cleveland games we don't want to talk about. Just the Guardians win in Game 2 on Tuesday night. This is Locked On Guardians, proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We cover your Cleveland Guardians every day. It's our favorite half hour of the day because we get to talk about the Cleveland Guardians from the majors to the minors to the draft and everything in between. And we do it every day. And we are so glad you chose to make us your first listen today. And every day, whatever it is you get podcasts. I'm Justin Latta. I have grown up watching Cleveland baseball my entire life. I have been writing about their minor league system since 2007. You can find my work at places like the News Herald, the Morning Journal, nextyearincleveland.substack.com, and here with my friend and co-host Jeff Ellis, where rain out, doubleheader, anything in between, we are always here. We are always talking Guardians.
And I'm Jeff Ellis, a longtime national writer. It's gotten 24/7 on prospects in the draft, and even longer time podcaster here. One of the first people they brought in when they wanted to expand to talk about baseball. And boy, do we have some baseball to talk about. A lot of guys step forward in these two games, 9 runs in each game. If you like offense, it was a fun 2 games to watch. That much I know for sure.
Yeah, 18 runs between the 2 games for the Cleveland Guardians, even though they only came away with 1 win. A lot of good signs. We will talk about the Guardians' resiliency in the doubleheader today. In the third segment, we will get to the missed chance to win a sweep of the doubleheader and go for a series sweep on Wednesday. But we're going to start with some slumping players that busted out in this game. We think we're starting to see some positive signs from. And I love, Jeff, I think it was earlier this year, I think I talked about Joey Cantillo taking over for Logan Allen in the rotation after like a couple of good relief performances. And the next day, Logan Allen went out and he pitched the best game of the season. And everybody, all of our insiders were and everydayers were texting and saying, oh, see, Logan Allen, listen to Locked On Guardians. Came out and made us look stupid. Nolan Jones must listen to Locked On Guardians. Carlos Santana must listen to Locked On Guardians. Both of them had huge days in this one. I think let's start with Carlos Santana because – you know, we talked a lot yesterday about right field. We talked a lot about Nolan Jones. We'll still talk about him a little bit today. Let's talk about Carlos Santana, though, because we had to have the conversation in spring training. We had to have it in the month of April that we knew it was going to come up. Is Carlos Santana being beaten by Father Time, as everybody eventually does, or is this just another typical Carlos Santana April? And if the recent stats are any indication, it was a typical Carlos Santana April. In the month of May, Carlos Santana has been one of the Guardians' hottest hitters. He is hitting only 222 in the month of May overall, but a 195 WRC plus, getting on base almost a 500 clip, slugging over 500 clip. He's walking. He's not striking out. He had 4 big hits in this one, including the 3-run homer that got him off the schneid in Game 2 that really busted him out. If they can get Carlos Santana in the middle of this order to start turning things around, which, you know, you and I thought would eventually happen. I think we both believed that it would get there. This could be a major difference for the Guardians at first base because we talked about, you know, CJ Kafis and David Fry and Kyle Manzardo, all those things. But getting Santana to start showing up in the middle of that order really changes things because then you're making the order a little bit longer. You got a guy who can get on base, can draw walks, but also can go out and have these kinds of games and put you on the scoreboard and extend innings the way he did on in both games, really, because he was a big part of the offense in both games. And that's the 7th inning in Game 1 was just absolutely ridiculous, like on both sides of the ball. We'll talk more about that. But that 3-run homer in the second game was huge because the Guardians easily could have felt deflated after losing Game 1 because they should have won that game, honestly. And then neither team could score for a while in the second game. But the Carlos Santana putting up in that second game, I think, was a big part of them being able to run away with that eventually.
Yeah, and you know, with Santana, he's the king of adjustments. Like that's what's kind of made him great over time. And he always starts slow. And he I think the fact that he had kind of a good like early April kind of threw us off a bit. But he's just continuing to be Carlos Santana. And is Josh Naylor the better player? Yes. More than likely, yes. Is he the more complete player? No, because I think Santana probably runs better and has better defense. But the reason they wouldn't want to go out and get Santana, and I think you could hear it if you listen to the games today, I heard Andre talk about it, is the steady Eddie nature of Carlos. The fact that like he's got those counting numbers on the back of the cards is what Andre talked about. And there's that ability that, he knows he's going to turn around. And we talked about in the past, like Josh Naylor runs in fuego for a month and then has a month where he doesn't, and he's a little bit more of a streaky up and down hitter because that's what his profile is. Does that make him less of a hitter? No, not at all. But I think they went out to get Carlos. They knew, and that's the other thing. The front office knew they were going to have to eat it because Josh typically starts pretty well. He did a year ago, and Carlos does not. And we're seeing why you go out and get him because now I'm not saying it's going to be great. I'm not saying the highs are going to be high, but I'm saying he's just going to be a solid, steady contributor with really good defense. And the Nolan Jones side of it, boy, were people angry at me in the comments yesterday. And, this is so why, and also kudos to Noel. Like he's had his struggles, but he had a big hit in that inning. At the time I was like, why are you pulling Schneemann? But, it worked out. The thing with Jones, though, it's like it's process over results in the early going, because the thing is, at the end of the day, process will lead to results. And the K rate is bad, and there's some other issues, but man, when you hit the ball hard, it just leads to good outcomes. And I mean, he was great in game one. Not in game two, he continued with his struggles, but Jones is also a guy who's going to have. I think we're just going to see a very streaky hitter this year. And let's be real honest, like he's just kind of holding down the fort till Thomas is going to take the majority of at bats when he's healthy. If Martinez keeps hitting, and then. I mean, both of them are just placeholders if DeLauder can stay healthy. It's a situation. But for today, celebrate his success. Celebrate. I mean, basically everyone outside of then Brian Rocchio had something you could, and Rocchio at least scored a run and had an RBI and a fielder's choice.
He had a hit and a steal, so he did.
No, did he have a steal?
I think he did have a steal.
He didn't have a hit though. He had it was a fielder's choice that he reached on. So I don't think he actually reached base in either of those games.
Oh, you're right. It was not a hit. It was not a hit. You're right. Yeah,
so I think everyone else kind of reached base in one of those two games. We'll talk about pitching in segment 2, but it's like Lively again, it continues to be the team's ace as we all expected at the start of the year. But yeah, I mean, so many players stood up in one game or the other. Santana in both, Schneemann to a degree in both. And, Stephen Kwan is maybe their best hitter. Right? Maybe they should give him that $100 million contract I talked about a month ago on the podcast. But, this is what we see with this offense. And when it's rolling, one of the big reasons it's rolling is the high walk rate. They got to the squishy middle, which is really squishy in that Nationals middle. And that allowed them they should have won both these games. Full stop.
Yeah, I mean, they got to Kyle Finnegan, too. They had a chance to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple things that dogged them in game one, besides Kate Smith, who we'll talk about in segment 2, and all that stuff. But they should have won game one. They had a lot of hits in game one. They were able to draw 4 walks in that game. And then game 2, they also drew 4 more walks. So you're right. When they walk, they do much better. Not really a surprise. I mean, they didn't even have – they had more runs than hits in game 2. So, and they only had 5 hits going into that 7th inning in game 1. So they had to come around late for that one. And yeah, they got to that part of the bullpen for the Nationals that just wasn't very good. They definitely let them off the hook in game 1. The Nolan Jones thing, like we talked about yesterday, process over results. I think you always want to go with good process. I think you have to find like a healthy balance between everything. Like, we talk a lot about Mr. Right Now. Anybody who's an everydayer knows that we've talked about that in the past with Oscar Gonzalez. We talked about it last week or on Monday with Daniel Schneemann and Gabriel Arias. We've talked about with Gabriel Arias most of the year. You have to find that right balance. Like, you want to stick with the guys that are having good processes and guys that are having outcomes that are maybe negatively influenced. Like for Nolan Jones, I think this was a big one because he caught up to a fastball on that home run. And we know he's been putrid against fastballs this year. Like, he's just been awful. So for him to catch up, and it wasn't like it was a 97-mile-an-hour screamer from Jake Irvin, but it was 93 up in the zone, and he got around on it, and he absolutely crushed it. And then he adjusted to the off speed in the second at bat for his double. So you're seeing some of those things start to play out a little bit better, and maybe things figured out. Like, I don't know if it's going to be like all of a sudden Nolan Jones is just going to run hot and he's going to have a month-long heater. I don't think we can necessarily predict that, but you do have to find that right balance between, okay, we need to stick with the guys who are having a good process. But we also need to play the guys that are hot right now. And you're doing that to an extent. Like, you have Jones in there with a good process, but you got guys like Schneemann and Arias, and those guys, they may not be, Mr. Forever, but they are Mr. Right now. And those are the guys that are important. You're going to stick with guys like Carlos Santana because you know what you're going to get from Carlos Santana, whether he's age 39 or not. You don't know what you're going to get from Nolan Jones, but the process is there. And like you said, really, they don't, as we talked about in yesterday's show, they don't really have another option right now. They went to Noel. They saw a good result from Noel in that one. I don't know how much that'll keep up, but you'll take it in the moment. And, Lane Thomas is still a couple of weeks away. It sounds like he still has to go out on a rehab assignment, and I don't think that's happening this week, maybe next week. So I think we're talking like end of May for Lane Thomas at this point, or close to it. So Jones and Noel are going to keep getting playing time unless they want to make a switch. And obviously, Nolan Jones heard us talking about it, and he decided to have a great game. Everybody listens to Locked On Guardians, and all of a sudden, there's a breakout, and everyone's happy. That's good.
No, yeah, sorry. I just didn't have much to add on. We've definitely been not as much. Listen, no one does it better than Zach over at The Athletic, but I did have to laugh because he might have actually been the king of the reverse jinx in today's game. I mean,
the Meisel jinx is strong.
It was hilarious in game one. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. Don't try to start stuff. No one is better than Zach. Yeah. I'm going to say that right now. No one is better than Zach. Yeah. I think he was probably had to laugh about it after, talking about Gaddis's perfection, Kate Smith's perfection, and Nolan Jones's struggles. We're going to get into those bullpen guys, and we got to talk Ben Lively as well in the second segment of the show today.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Guardians' missed chances to earn a sweep in this doubleheader. We'll talk about pitching, all the weird things that happened. This was a weird game, as Guardians doubleheaders often are. We'll get into more of it on today's Locked On Guardians.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to make my wonderful pistachios Octonauts theme. That went over well yesterday. But what I can tell you is if you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Why do I love Wonderful Pistachios? It wants a personal touch, and I'll be very honest, because it's delicious. Chili lime, that's the one I liked. It's the one I keep buying. I know I should branch out. I always tell my kids, try new foods. It might taste good. But here's the thing. I know what I like. I'm just going to keep getting the chili lime. It's fantastic. And the nice thing with the Wonderful Pistachios is it's not full of sugar. It's going to fill you up with protein, which means you will get full. You will eat it and you will be full, and you're not going to sit around and eat junk food that doesn't fill you up and is bad for you. Wonderful Pistachios is full of those good proteins. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Get some chili lime.
Would not have predicted the Guardians would lose game one. I couldn't have predicted what was going to happen in the 7th inning.
You could predict nothing in that game.
No. And honestly, that's the fun part of baseball. That's the fun part of doubleheaders. Like, doubleheaders are weird. Like, you don't have any other sport that does this. Hockey, basketball, football, you're not playing 2 games in one day in any of those sports. Baseball is the only sport you're doing that. Soccer, NASCAR, like golf. Like, I guess golf you can get 36 holes in a day. I guess that happens, but that's not the only sport I can really think of where you're playing 2 in a day. To me, there's nothing. I love a doubleheader. I do. Even though the Guardians have been terrible at them the last couple of years, I do love a good doubleheader.
Strong point for them.
No, it has not been, but I do love a good doubleheader, and it makes baseball even more unpredictable. You turn a game on, you go to a game, and you might always see something you haven't ever seen before. The Guardians, they've blown games before, but they had 5 hits going into that 7th inning. And then they went out and doubled their hit total that inning or sent 10 men to the plate in that inning and scored 6 runs. Could have predicted that. And then I couldn't have predicted what happened to Kate Smith the next inning coming up. We had somebody on Twitter, one of our everydayers, was like, yeah, Jeff and Justin called it. This is a pesky Nationals team. And then they were pesky, but like, I don't know. I just didn't see Cade Smith being the guy who gave up 3 hits and 4 runs in a game. Start with that walk. That's unfortunate. Cade Smith was not the only guy to blame here. Like, I know he gave 4 runs and he took the loss, the blown save, but the Guardians scored 1 run in the first inning, right? That was the wild pitch by Jake Irvin was the only reason they scored that run, because they had a hit and then 2 walks after that that loaded the bases. If they tack on more and make Jake Irvin pay for his wildness in the first inning, they don't have to wait till the 6th inning for the offense to explode. And maybe Cade Smith doesn't have that bad inning, or maybe they have enough to sustain it. I don't know.
I don't think you could blame the offense in this one. Cade Smith pooped the bed. It's on
no,
Cade.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying. I mean, I understand that Cade Smith should never give up 4 runs. Like he is too good. But Emmanuel Clase has done it this year too. So it's gonna happen. These guys aren't perfect. He had a bad day at the office.
Yes. I'm not.
But I mean,
I agree.
You can't have the bases loaded and only get 1 run, and it can't come from a wild pitch. Yes, and they had the home run by Nolan Jones, and then the Nationals got a run right back in the first inning. Every time the Guardians scored, the Nationals kept answering back. Like Luis Ortiz was not perfect in this one too. Luis Ortiz, like the guy looks like he can win a Cy Young some starts, and then the next start, it's like, God, this is like Fausto Carmona 2009 as or 2006 as the closer. Like he just has these Jekyll and Hyde innings, and even in this game, like in the game 1, he had a 7-pitch inning that was so good. And then he goes out and he still walks 3 and he gives up home runs. And it's like, yeah, some days I watch this guy pitch and I think this guy could win a Cy Young. And then I watch him pitch and yeah, he looks like Fausto Carmona 2006. It's a nightmare. But hey, Matt Vesta was good again. Yeah, Cade Smith, just a bad day at the office. I'm not really too worried there. That was going to happen at some point. But yeah, you mentioned Ben Lively. Like Ben Lively had a good second game. I was kind of surprised that Vogt pulled him after 63 pitches and 5 1/3. Like he just did not want him facing the Nationals lineup a third time through, which, based on what happened in game 1, sort of makes sense, but it doesn't, because it's a doubleheader and your bullpen blew it in game 1 and you lost 2 guys in game 1 you couldn't use. So the bullpen was kind of short. Thankfully the offense came around, but Lively pitched really good, I thought. And I was kind of surprised. He got 2 hits and 2 walks, and he wasn't hit that hard. Like he wasn't hit harder than usual. Like the Nationals had some hard hits off him, but it wasn't like they hit him harder than he normally gets hit. So that was kind of interesting. I wonder if there was something more to that.
I think there is probably a degree of, they've had him for 2 years now, and whenever they've pushed him for more, it's kind of blown up in their face that he's a 5 and fly, and they kind of stick to the 5 and fly because that's where he's successful. Like, we're enjoying Kyle Manzardo. Why we're able to get Manzardo? Because they kept Savali as a 5 and fly to kind of maximize how good he looked. And, sometimes you just have to know who your pitcher is. This is the case though. Like, listen, I've been the king of saying Lively 5 and fly. And I've said it too many times in this podcast, but like, because they had to work through so many of their pitchers, I would have probably at least given him a little bit of a longer leash, but it worked out. I can't really say one way or another. So if you go and look at, you can see on my Twitter, the box score bingo link, he leads the starting pitchers in box score bingo. He's gotten 5 stars in 8 of his starts. So it's interesting to go and see, like, he's been really effective. Can he maintain it? I was going through all of his data today, and he's fascinating to look at in that regard, because he's actually getting hit harder this year than a year ago. He's missing less bats than a year ago. So why is he being effective? He's not, there's less, his ground ball rate is down, and they're putting more in the air. And as we've talked about in the past, like, balls in the air lead to home runs, but they also lead to more positive outcomes for a pitcher than a ball on the ground. So maybe that's part of, what he's working on. Again, he's a guy who you'd think would struggle with the shrinking strike zone, but he continues to perform. Just to reiterate, it's just kind of funny because, like, Gaddis gave up the hit that scored the 2 runs, and then, Cade gave up the 4 runs. And I'm not putting anything on them. It's the same story as with Clase, I believe, in all of those arms. It's just, it's the humor of, like, you feel really good with those 2 guys coming in. I kept expecting Cade to just somehow strike out the next 2 guys. I expected Gaddis to get, out of it. And especially after you get 6 runs, to me, okay, so that loss is terrible, but it's also great, because there's been points in the past, and points with bad Cleveland teams, where if they had a big inning like that, and then the next inning, the pitching staff gave it up, it's just deflated, and everyone feels like, okay, we're done. We can't. they got one run back. Like Santana and Arias were able to manufacture. They had got an opportunity with a base. I believe there was a base runner on with Rocchio up. Maybe not the ideal person in that. And the next game they came back and they were. I'm trying to be kind. The next game they came back.
I think we skewered that the other day. I think we pretty much gave up on that argument the other day.
But they came back and it was slow. But then they had another big offensive game. And just say this again: like good teams find ways to win, bad teams find ways to lose. Sometimes your relievers blow up. That's the way of relievers. We saw the Nationals team not be good, like all the wild pitches, everything else. Cleveland keeps finding ways to win in spite of their struggles, in spite of some of the players who are not performing up to level. This is a good team. Good team. They have the second best record in the American League. That this is a good team, full stop. And yeah, guys have some off nights and they're still playing well. Ben Lively, great performance. Carlos Santana, to me, I know we're doing pitching here, but he was the kind of the star of those two games. And then Schneemann. Soon we're going to have a Schneemann episode and just kind of analyze what has changed, if anything, or is this just, he was super hot to start last year, but it's been a lot of fun, right? Like, I mean, if you're not having fun right now, they're winning, like have fun, enjoy it. Think what it must be like to be a fan of like most other franchises. Most franchises don't get to win as much as Cleveland has won in the last decade. And yes, they haven't won the big one, but if you judge everything by that, then you're just going to be an unhappy fan.
Yeah, I've said that multiple times on here. I mean, I don't want to think about that long term because it's only May 7th, but the Guardians have one of the best records in the American League, and they're hanging in there, and like we continue to say, like they have not played their best ball yet. I mean, they certainly didn't in this doubleheader, at least in game one, because the offense took forever to come around, and the bullpen blew it. In the second game, it took a late offensive explosion for them to pull away, but that was the first time in 8 games they finally had a game where they didn't win by 1 or 2 runs. They've been squeaking by the seat of their pants for the last week or so. So they finally had a game where things got easy for them late in the game. They think they really needed that. Hopefully they can kind of roll on that into the off day because they've got a tough match coming up with the Phillies, which we'll talk about tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow's show. We'll talk about game 3 of this series. We'll talk about the Phillies coming to town. They have a big Sunday night matchup in that one too. So that'll be a fun one to talk about. So yeah, Daniel Schneemann's been a lot of fun. He's just a fun player in general because of his background and his history in terms of the draft and all that kind of stuff and his age. But yeah, he's a big key of this and this whole perseverance, this team resilience thing you talked about, how they could have easily been deflated after that 6-run inning in the or that inning where they blew it up in game 1. But they didn't. They bounced back and they figured things out. And that's been a hallmark of this team going back to last year, and it's been a hallmark of this team this year, is resilience. We'll talk about some of the keys to that resilience in our final segment on today's Locked On Guardians. Get the supplies that you need from the Skilled Trades. Supply House, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order your products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with an inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. You'll always talk to a real person. I know when I called for any order, any delivery, anything I'm working with, whether it's around the house, whether it's just a supply I need, anything I'm ordering, I always want to be able to talk to a real person to make sure I'm getting the thing that I'm exactly looking for and get some expert advice along the way to make sure I'm buying the right thing. And if you're a trade pro looking for an extra edge, they have the free trade master program, and it offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts on every order. So thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now you should too. Get yourself a dedicated phone line from Supply House if you're ordering HVAC, electrical, or plumbing supplies. Take advantage of that. Join the Trade Master program at supplyhouse.com today/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, if you use our promo code SH5, you're going to get 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Once again, I want to make sure that we appreciate you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day wherever you get podcasts. We are free on every format, so make sure you're downloading on Spotify or Apple. Overcast is our number 3 most used app to listen to us in audio. Make sure you auto download So if you can't watch on YouTube, maybe you're in the car, maybe you're not at home to watch on your phone or watch on your computer, make sure you're auto downloading on audio so you don't miss an episode. Hit the bell on YouTube for reaction videos, bonus episodes like the MLB Squad Show and my appearances with Sully on Locked On MLB. So we're always here for you 5 days a week, even though we don't have a newsletter. We're here 5 days a week on all of our platforms.
The Squad Show in particular, we both were on it yesterday. So if you missed it, like it's almost like a bonus episode because we were both got pulled into that one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to go over there. So listen to the episode of MLB Squad Show, and check out our Insiders program. I had a lot of fun today talking to our insiders, our insiders about this doubleheader. It was a wild day overall. We talk about the minor leagues. We talk about game observations. Jeff's got bonus draft content. He's got his box score bingo or 3 stars of the game in there. I've got my ebook, my handbook for the Guardians prospects. That's all in there on the Insiders group. Make sure you sign up today at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. I did have someone join who said they wanted us to start a Discord. They wanted a group chat. So if anybody else in the Insiders group would be interested in a Discord for Locked On Guardians, we can make that happen. It'd be a lot of fun. I do love myself some Discord. I want to point out in Game 2 something in particular. I think this is kind of the most important thing. This is an obvious thing, but it's I think it really says a lot about where the Guardians are and how they get to this resiliency, right? Like you talked about how they scored the run off Kyle Finnegan, right? They came back and they almost they had a chance to tie the game in Game 1. And then in Game 2, they finally got the home run from Carlos Santana. They stuck with Carlos Santana because they know what they're going to get from him. He's very steady. And in the month of May, he's finally turning it around and showing us who he is as usual. I don't know. I thought the at-bat of the whole day, especially in a doubleheader, like it just conceptualizes the Guardians so well. Conceptualizes? Not sure if the right word there. I think it explains this Guardians team so well. That at-bat by José Ramírez in the 9th inning. It's a 10-pitch at-bat. The Guardians are up 9-1. And he swung at a few balls outside of the zone, but it's a 10-pitch at-bat in a 9-1 game. He's fighting up there. He's not just taking pitches. He's not looking to ground out to second base and just, he's DHing. He could have gone back to the bench and called it a day. Instead, he grinds out a 10-pitch at-bat in the 9th inning, up 8 runs, and he ends up running for a hustle double. He could have stopped at first base, but he didn't. That's José Ramírez. And he's doing that in a blowout in Game 2 of a doubleheader. That when you have a leader on your team, the guy who is the face of your franchise doing that, it really does set the tone for your entire team. And without that, I don't think the Guardians have their spirit. I don't think they have their resilience to do those kind of things. Like that to me just sets the perfect example. It's a doubleheader in a blowout in Game 2, and you lost in Game 1 in a deflating way. And you still have your best player, the face of your franchise, grounding out a long at bat and taking second base on a hustle double. That to me is exactly what you paid him for. It's exactly what you show up for. And it's a perfect explanation of who this team is at its heart and soul. And that's why they're fun to watch most days.
Yeah. And you can go back to, again, the segment when I talked about, how Zach does great work. And he has the thing about Jose and Daniel Snyder and the torpedo bat. And Jose's like, well, maybe I should try it. I want more hits. And Nolan Jones says like something like, you had 2 yesterday. It's like, Jose, I don't think it was matters if they're losing like 1,000-1. Like he still wants, and it's not in a selfish way that he wants to get his. He just always wants to, like I'm in my early 40s. It's like I grew up as a kid watching Michael Jordan. We just always heard like there are, like with him, it's like, was he ever happy? It was just like he couldn't stand losing to such a degree. Like he was such a competitor. It's like Jose kind of has that killer instinct, that gene where he can't turn it off. He's always going to have it there, sometimes to his detriment, which I don't know when he is going to force himself out there. But like, that is why like he should age well. And listen, I learned a hard lesson a year ago. Some people in our comments have talked about, is age catching up with him? I'm not counting against Jose. I'm done. I'm done playing that game. I believe in Jose, and he's going to turn this around and be like another like top 10 MVP finish.
Yeah. He hasn't even gotten hot yet. Again, there's a lot of things in this team that just have not happened yet. And I think you and I both believe they will. And they're still one of the better teams in the American League. This, hopefully this game, spreads out the run differential a little bit and people can stop panicking about that. Things will come around. Certain guys got to turn it around. Like Gavin Williams is a big start this weekend. Tanner Bybee too, and Luis Ortiz has to put it together. There are still things that have to come together. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I think over the long course of the season, we believe they will. We should have an episode about Daniel Schneemann, I think, a little bit more in the coming days. But I thought his home run in Game 2 was also you mentioned Austin Hedges' home run in Game 2. That was fun. Schneemann's home run in Game 2 was off a slider. We talked about how he was hammering the fastball over the weekend, but he hasn't really been on the off-speed pitches this year. But the slider in Game 2 is what he hit for a home run, and those are the kind of things you want to see, like the adjustments. Like, yeah, he's already hot. He could have just waited for a fastball, and the fact that he's been patient, he had some walks in this game. The fact that he was patient, he's been earning fastballs has been great. But if you can go out there and hit a slider the way he did in Game 2, that just makes you more dangerous and makes you more feared by pitchers. So that's a good development too. We want to watch for guys who are making changes and guys who are making adjustments, and he continues to make it.
And speaking of guys making changes and adjustments, real quick here at the end, I got to point out Austin Hedges' third home run this year in 42 plate appearances. In 23 and 24 in 360 plate appearances, he had 3 total home runs the last 2 years. So he's making so much. Like, you don't just go from 3 in that period to like getting lucky and like Hedges has always had good power. It's about accessing it, but I don't know. You wonder if Grant Fink maybe helped him like correct some bad habits or lean into some things, because I don't think he's going to carry the slugging percentage he's carrying right now. But like it is interesting to see. It's something that stands out. And wasn't that a fun moment in the ninth when his teammates tricked him into thinking that James Woods, who's a giant, had caught the ball? It was a fun moment, but Hedges been surprising. Yeah, I mean he's already earned his contract. It feels like.
He's still the heart and soul of that team. Yeah, he is. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. All right, we'll be back tomorrow in your feeds. We'll talk about the wrap up of the series. It is Logan Allen and old foe Mike Soroka from the White Sox last year. Hopefully they have better luck against him. And the Guardians, they have a huge series this weekend against the Phillies. They're going to be on national TV Sunday night. We will preview that series and what to look for in that coming ahead on Thursdays. Locked on Guardians.
I mean, I feel like I should mute myself here at the end just for the sake of continuity, but I guess no mutes today. Sorry, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. Check out, all of our content, and go Guardians, go.